It is October 2nd, and I'm gonna be so for real. I forgot that I was vlogging, or that I planned to. Anywho, I am reading A Spell for Trouble by Esme Addison, which I would not recommend for future rounds of Blackoween because while the author is Black, the characters are not. And I gotta admit, I was a little disappointed by that. I do go into most books assuming that everyone is Black. And because this was a pick for Blackoween, I'm just like sad that it doesn't technically count, even though Bree is allowing it for this year, but next year it wouldn't, so would not recommend. And to be totally honest, I'm not loving it as expected because I don't do well with cozy mysteries, but I'm on chapter 5 and nobody's died yet. Let's get to the mystery. Let's get to the amateur sleuthing. Give me something. And also, like, the main character is kind of dumb. Like, there's magical things happening and she's just like, what? How did that happen? Why did that happen? And I'm just like, girl, your family got magic. You don't see that? I see it. Everybody else see it. Why don't you? So, currently hosting Blackoween sprints. I've got 18 minutes left on our second sprint of the night, so I'll probably get in one more. And I'm hoping that the rest of the books are better than this. If I had to guess right now, I'm probably gonna rate this about a 3. And yeah, if you're not familiar, it's about Alex, who's living in New York, but she up and quit her job because she had some issues with her supervisor, was passed over for promotion, blah blah blah. Quit her job and then goes to visit her estranged family in the South. And the reason that she's estranged from them is it's her mother's side. Her mother passed away and her dad did not like them for whatever reason. We don't know that yet, but her dad also recently passed away, and so she was like, I'm gonna go see the other side of my family. Her aunt Lydia owns an apothecary, so could have been so fitting for Noir Apothecary. But I'm not loving it right now. I'm kind of bored. I started on ebook and decided to get the audio to go with it because it's just really not doing it for me right now. But my hold for Against the Current also came in, so I'm hoping to finish this quickly now that I have the audio and then move on to that probably. So we'll see how it goes. Good morning. I am getting ready to make breakfast. It's Sunday. I have Blackoween sprints today, so I'm getting ready for that. I worked a wedding yesterday and I dropped my iPad in the case and the screen shattered. So, yeah, that's where we're at. I have not read anything since I finished A Spell for Trouble, even though I do have my hold for Against the Current, so my plan is to read that during sprints today. And I would typically read the ebook on my iPad, but I can't do that without slicing up my fingers. I do have the remote and the clicker, but I don't really feel like dealing with all of that, so I'm probably just gonna get the audio. And I think audio is just the way that I'm gonna go for the rest of Blackoween to ensure that I am able to complete my TBR, and also because I don't really want to read ebooks on my phone. That's part of the reason why I got an iPad in the first place. And until I get a new one, I'm gonna have to figure out an alternative. So there is that. I did start Against the Current. I was somewhere in the first chapter, didn't get far because I fell asleep. But I've decided that since I'm reading all cozies, what I'm gonna do is try to start making predictions. So I have already predicted who the victim's gonna be, and I had predicted it with Glimmer of Death, and I was right. Like, it was a very like intense scene, and I was like, yeah, that he gonna die. So I'm gonna keep doing that, see if I can make predictions, see how good I am at this. Probably not very, but you know, it's fine. We're gonna try every book in the Teeth of Rosie's Kitchen series, and currently there are what, 4? I haven't read book 5 yet. I've never known who the killer is. Never. I never get it right. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's 11 o'clock now. I have 2 hours until sprints. So I should probably advertise that on social media. We're gonna make some breakfast and get the day started. Like I said, I worked a wedding last night, plus it was my friend's birthday, so I didn't get home till 2, which is not something that I do often. So I am tired, but I feel like I'll be fine once I have some waffles and coffee. So I am going to make the typical protein waffles. I got this bourbon vanilla bean paste from Trader Joe's, and I really like that. So I'm gonna add some of that in there, and yeah. I just got back from a networking event where I had 3 margaritas, did not get a single second of content because I genuinely didn't think about it, and this is how you know that I suck at vlogs. But anyway, I finished Against the Current, rated it 4 stars. I actually really liked it. I will definitely be continuing that series, and I started A Deadly Inside Scoop. This one I'm not sure about. I don't think that I'm gonna like it as much just from the way that it started. I don't know. I feel like if I'm not really into it within the first like 3 chapters, then it's usually not that great for me. So I don't have high hopes, but I have started my 3rd Blackoween read, and it is only October 10th, which is good. So can't really say I'm excited about this one, but we'll see how it goes. I'm at least gonna finish it. I'm really trying hard not to DNF any of my reads this month because I want to be Investigator Throreaux, but we'll see how it goes. Bree is hosting sprints right now on her channel, and Robin has joined her, and tomorrow I'm heading to DC to spend the weekend with Robin and Alana. So I'm really excited because this is the only free weekend that I have, and by that I mean it's the only weekend where I'm not working a wedding or 2. So I'm really excited to see them, spend time with them, and not have to work. And I will try my best to get content while I'm there, but no promises. I just got back from DC a little while ago. We had a really great time. I'm unpacking and meal prepping and whatever, but I'm listening to A Deadly Inside Scoop while I do that, and just things that are going through my head right now because I'm annoyed. If you're clicking, it's my oven. So I already knew that I really wasn't gonna like this, and a part of the reason is because Bronwyn, the main character, is dumber than a bag of fucking bricks. The amount of times that someone is explaining something to her or telling her something and she's just asking the dumbest questions, and I'm just like, how are you this fucking clueless? But also, and this isn't actually important to the plot, someone comes in and is like, oh, I'm the dean of students at this college and blah, 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 and I need you to help me cater an event, blah, blah, blah. But it takes her like a good 20 minutes to actually get to the point. And as someone who formerly worked in higher education for 6 years and worked really closely with senior administration, including 2 different dean of students, you cannot be in that role and not know how to be succinct and get to the point and make a very fucking simple request. So I'm having a hard time believing that. Anyway, so she accepts to do the catering order for this event, and she's like, oh, I'm so excited to tell my parents that I'm gonna be a party planner. What? As someone who has worked in events for 11 years and is on their 7th year of wedding coordination, you are not a fucking event planner. You are catering the event. Catering and planning are 2 different things. Like I said, not important to the plot, but this is really irritating the fuck out of me. I know that I'm not gonna like this book. I most definitely will not be continuing the series. It's been a minute since I updated. However, I have completed A Deadly Inside Scoop, which I did not like. I gave it 2 stars. I know that the characters are supposed to be a little dumb for whatever reason, but Bronwyn took that to a whole nother level. I also read 2 Parts Sugar, 1 Part Murder. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to. In this one, we're following Maddie. Her great aunt, who she never met, left her house and her business, which is a bakery. And so she goes to this small town to takeover, and in her will it states that she has to live there for 1 year, and then if she decides to sell, fine, but she needs to live there and run the business for a year. So she goes and someone gets murdered, of course. And it wasn't terrible, but I realized that I do not like the spoiled rich kid who cannot do basic shit like boil water or scramble eggs. Like, not my fave, and that's what we have in this one. It wasn't bad though overall. There was like a little romance budding on the side that I actually didn't hate, and there was some good found family which I liked, so I think that saved it, but I will not be continuing that series either. So the group read for Noir Apothecary is Murder by Page 1 by Olivia Matthews, who is the author of Against the Current, which I enjoyed. However, this book is under like Hallmark Publishing. Didn't know Hallmark published books, but I couldn't fucking find it anywhere, so I had to order a copy. I was able to get it from Barnes & Noble. I had 2 gift cards, so figured I'd just put those to use. But I don't know if I'm gonna read this one next or A Glimmer of Death. If I can find the audio for A Glimmer of Death, I'll probably start with that one, and then this will be my last read for Blackoween. So I feel good about completing my TBR. That's definitely gonna happen, but I knew this was gonna be a bit of a struggle because I don't always love cozies, but I did at least find one that I enjoyed, so there's that. We're gonna call it a win. So I have to figure out where I'm getting A Glimmer of Death from, and then I'll be really close to finishing my TBR, so I'm excited about that.
We're live. Smile, I'm gonna post you on my Instagram.
So Justice hosting sprints right now, and I was planning on not DNFing anything during Blackoween this year, but I can't do it. I'm DNFing Glimmer of Death. I've been listening to it for the past couple of days, and I just genuinely don't care. And the crazy part is I made it to 92% and I don't even care who the killer is. This one is actually worse than A Deadly Inside Scoop, and I never thought that I was gonna say anything was worse than that. The main character has this ability that runs in her family where she sees glimmers on people in different colors mean different things, or sometimes she smells something. So if she smells nutmeg, that means death, and that's actually a pretty cool concept. However, her boss ends up dying and someone in the office is accused of it, and then somehow I guess she befriends the widow, but everyone is calling her like, you're the only person that I have. Like, the widow is calling her when something happens. The person who gets accused of the murder is calling her and being like, I don't have anybody else to call. Everyone's like, you're the only person that I could call right now. How? You don't know that girl? What do you mean she's the only person? You're not even friends. That doesn't make sense. Like, she literally has no reason to be involved in anything that is happening, and I don't care. One thing I've never thought that I would call a cozy is boring, and this is boring as fuck. So I'm done. I'm letting it go. At first I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to finish this if I want to be Investigator, Throreaux, Noir, Apothecary. False. 5 to 6 books is the rule, and as long as I finish this, I've read 5, and I like this author, so I'm hoping that I enjoy this. I'm gonna start this next, but yeah, I had to let A Glimmer of Death go. It wasn't worth it. I don't know what this is about. No, I'm not gonna read the synopsis, but I'm gonna get started and hopefully I actually like this one. Hello, it's been a month. I knew it was gonna be a month, but working a conference out of state, coming back to back-to-back weddings after having a major train delay is not a fun time. So I decided that I am going to do a wrap-up included in this vlog, and that is just going to be my Blackoween vlog and wrap-up all together. Chances of me reading anything else before the month is over, non-existent. So might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do first is go through all the books that I read, what I rated them, if I'd recommend them, and then give you an update on the final 2 books and tell you what happened there, because it's kind of an interesting situation. So I'm looking off to the side because I have my computer open with my reading spreadsheet. And so my first Blackoween read was A Spell for Trouble by Esme Addison. I rated this 3.5 stars. It was okay. I would not recommend this for Blackoween because while the author is black, the characters are not. It was fine though. It is about witches that run an apothecary. The main character's kind of stupid though, which I guess is to be expected. 3.5 stars. I'm not continuing the series, but if that sounds interesting, go for it. We're following Alex, who leaves New York City to go to a small town to visit her mother's side of the family, who she has not seen in a really long time. Turns out that their family has magic, and Alex had no idea, so we follow her from there. The next one was Against the Current by Olivia Matthews. This was my favorite read of the entire month. I rated it 4 stars. In this, we're following Lindsay. She and her family have just opened a Caribbean bakery and cafe. One of her competitors ends up dead the day after they had a really big argument in her store in front of a bunch of witnesses, and obviously she gets accused of the murder. What I like about this one is that Lindsay, number one, isn't as dumb as most cozy mystery characters, but also she doesn't automatically, without thought, put herself in dangerous situations and not have any way to defend herself. So I think that's why I liked her the most as a character, but also like the food, the family aspect, I really enjoyed all of that, and I definitely will be continuing the series. Then we had A Deadly Inside Scoop by Abby Collette. This is about Bronwyn, who is reopening her grandparents' ice cream shop. I thought this was going to be the worst. I did. However, while I rated it 2 stars because Bronwyn is dumber than a rock, it's not the worst thing that I read, which is unfortunate, and I'll explain in a minute, but I will not be continuing the series. I did not like her. I did not like her best friend, who was also dumb, but somehow she's the reason that they started amateur sleuthing. It really didn't make any sense. My personal opinion, I would not recommend it, but you know, read at your own risk. Then I read 2 Part Sugar, 1 Part Murder by Valerie Burns. I liked this one okay. I rated it 3 stars. However, I'm not a fan of the rich, spoiled girl who doesn't know how to scramble an egg type thing. And that is a literal scene that happened. She does not know how to scramble an egg. But in this, we're following Madison. Ignore the sirens. We're following Madison. Her great aunt that she never met left her bakery and is like, move to my town for a year, run the business, and if after a year you want to sell it, go ahead, do whatever you want. A lot of people have been wanting her aunt to sell the bakery, and she has constantly refused. So she goes, she takes over the business like she's supposed to, and it has a really nice found family element that I really enjoyed, and I've heard good things about the second book in the series. Do I personally want to read it? I'm not sure. Another thing about Madison is that she's an influencer. So every 10 minutes, you're getting a description of her pulling out her phone and taking a picture of something, and then it has 50 hashtags attached to it. And so listening to an audiobook, it's literally like hashtag this, hashtag that, hashtag this. And I'm just like, please shut the fuck up. Okay. So on that note, probably would not read the second book unless I read it physically. But do I care enough? No. Here's where things got a little interesting. I started reading A Glimmer of Death by Valerie Wilson Leslie. I was listening to the audiobook, and honestly I didn't care, but I was just like, I don't want to DNF anything for Blackoween because I want to be Investigator, Throreaux, Noir, Apothecary. Then I remembered I only had to read 5 books, not 6. So I was listening to it, and something happened that just like really irritated the fuck out of me, and at that point I had already reached 92%, but I didn't care. I put it down. I DNF'd it. I was planning to then read the group pick, Murder by Page 1 by Olivia Matthews, who is the same author of Against the Current, which I enjoyed. I made it 56 pages in. I don't care. None of these characters are important to me. None of them are interesting enough for me to continue. It's not pulling me in the way that Against the Current did, and I think that's my fault for making the comparison, even though it is by the same author. But also knowing that I was going to have the busiest 2 weeks of the entire year, I decided that instead of continuing with this book, I was gonna go back to A Glimmer of Death, finish that, and just DNF this. So that is what I did. Before I talk more about A Glimmer of Death, Murder by Page 1 is about, what is that girl's name? Marvy, who's a librarian, and her best friend Joe runs a bookstore. Joe's hosting a book signing with some local authors, and one of the authors ends up dead. Marvy starts helping her investigate, and that's really as far as I got. That's all I can tell you. I don't know. But part of the thing that bothered me is that I didn't care about any of the characters, but then also the one who's accused of murder is just like, I don't know, like her reactions to things just didn't make a ton of sense. And so like there's a scene where Marvy literally says, am I the only one that's taking into consideration that there are murder charges here? And I'm like, that's a good question, girl, because why is nobody else taking into consideration that there are murder charges here? Kind of a big deal, especially in a small town where a lot of murders don't happen, right? Anyway, that's where I quit. I went back to A Glimmer of Death. I only had 8% left, and let me tell you, it was not a fun time. It wasn't. In this book, we're following Odessa, and she works in a realty office. None of the employees are particularly happy, and their boss is a piece of shit, honestly. And if you don't like reach your quota or whatever, he berates you, belittles you while waving a gun around and jokes about whether or not it's loaded, and is constantly intimidating people with this gun in the office, which is crazy. But anyway, surprise, surprise, he ends up dead. Someone else in the office gets accused of the murder, and by the end of the book, you're supposed to believe that Odessa is everybody's best friend, that she is just so reliable for all of them, and that they're so close, and this is just one big happy family. My issue with that is that literally at the beginning of the book, she either did not know, was not friends with, or hardly talked to any of these people, and the author did not do enough work to convince you that this big happy family scenario was even mildly realistic. Literally, the person who gets accused of the murder, like they have a few conversations, they're friendly, but then he's like, you're the only one that I could call. And I'm like, how? And even she, the main character, is saying, we don't know each other that well. I don't know anything about him. So how are you the only person that he knows? And then the widow of the person who dies is like, you're my best friend. And I'm like, since when? Y'all just met like less than a week ago. And I'm not saying friendships can't form quickly, but and then there's also another person who's like, you know, you're the closest thing to me and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, when did that happen? Because I didn't see it. So none of it felt realistic, but also like, you know how a lot of the times like the first book in a cozy mystery series, either the main character themselves or someone really close to them is accused of murder, and that's why they get involved. Odessa had no reason to be involved with any of it. She don't know them people. If they all became friends because of this thing that they experienced together, that would make more sense, but that's not exactly what happened. And so I could understand how the rest of the books in the series make sense and how they're all super close and everything after going through this, but to start where we were and then to be like, we're a family, I'm just like, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I DNF'd Murder by Page 1, and I gave A Glimmer of Death 1 star. There's my October wrap up. Like I said, I most likely will not be reading anything else. What's most important is that I've completed Noir, Apothecary, and I don't have to do it again. So that's all I really care about, to be totally honest. I am going to update my spreadsheets, and I just need this month to be over. Yeah, we're almost there. So let me know if you have read any of these, if they're on your TBR, where you were for Blackoween, which location, which role, what you read, what you enjoyed the most. Again, I enjoyed Against the Current, and I will be continuing that series. So let me know how your Blackoween was. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.